Liam trudged up the stairs to his apartment. At 32, he wasn't exactly living the dream, but it was his birthday, and he'd been clinging to a flicker of hope all day. Raised in a modest family where birthdays meant store-bought cake and a few laughs around the kitchen table, he wasn't expecting a parade, but Sofia, his wife of 4 years, had been dropping hints all week. Sly smiles, secretive phone chats, the works. Despite the chilly tension that had crept into their marriage lately, Liam figured she'd planned something nice. Maybe a quiet dinner or, if he dared to dream, that new toolbox he'd been eyeing. The apartment was dead silent when he walked in. No candles, no happy birthday, not even the dog they didn't have to greet him. Just a text from Sofia. "Meet me at my parents' place. Surprise awaits." She'd included the address to their flashy new suburban house, complete with a winking emoji. Liam sighed, grabbed his keys, and drove across town, his beat-up sedan looking like a stray mutt among the manicured lawns and gleaming SUVs. When he arrived, Sofia greeted him at the door, her smile tight as a drum. She was stunning as always, long dark hair, designer dress hugging her frame, but something felt off. Inside, the living room was packed. Her parents, Garrett and Linda, her sister Claire, a handful of cousins, and some faces Liam vaguely recognized from awkward family gatherings. They all held champagne flutes, the air thick with a weird electric buzz. Liam forced a grin, wondering if he'd missed the memo on the dress code. "Happy birthday, babe," Sofia chirped, thrusting an envelope into his hands. "Surprise!" The room went quiet, all eyes on him. Liam's heart did a little flip. Maybe it was a trip, a gift, something to thaw the frost between them. He tore it open, scanning the papers inside. His stomach dropped. Divorce papers, neatly typed, stamped, and ready to sign. Sofia clapped her hands, beaming like she'd just won a prize. "I'm leaving you for someone who's not, well, a disappointment. No hard feelings, okay? I just deserve a guy with a little more upside." She winked at the room, and a few cousins snickered. Garrett, her father, roared with laughter, his booming voice filling the space. "We never thought she'd stick with someone so out of her league, Liam. Sorry, pal, but you were punching above your weight from day one. I always said this marriage was a misfire." He slapped his knee, clearly delighted. Linda popped a fresh bottle of champagne, the cork flying like a victory shot, and the family erupted into cheers, toasting as if they'd rehearsed this. Claire, Sofia's younger sister, winced from her spot at the table. She stood abruptly, muttering, "Oh my God, this is awful." Grabbing her purse, she stormed toward the door, pausing only to shove a small box into Liam's hands. "I'm sorry, Liam. Happy birthday, I guess. Take this. I'm not sticking around for this circus." She bolted, leaving Garrett cackling behind her. "Claire, always the bleeding heart," he shouted to the room. "Mother Teresa on a budget, huh? Good luck making it in business with that attitude, kid." The cousins laughed harder, clinking glasses. Liam stood there, divorce papers in one hand, Claire's mystery box in the other, his brain struggling to catch up. The room spun a little, less from shock, more from the sheer absurdity of it all. He grabbed a pen from the table, scribbled his signature on the dotted line, and handed the papers back to Sofia. "Thanks for the birthday wishes," he said, his voice flat but steady. Then he turned and walked out, the sound of their confused silence trailing him to the door. He didn't look back. Not at Sofia's smug grin, not at Garrett's red-faced glee, not even at the champagne bubbles fizzing like the whole thing was a big, cruel sitcom. In the cool air, Liam climbed into his car, tossed the little box onto the passenger seat, and drove off, wondering what the hell had just happened, and what might be in that box. Liam slumped onto his couch that night. He poured himself a generous slug of whiskey, cheap stuff, but it did the trick, and stared at his phone as it buzzed with Sofia's texts. "Why didn't you say anything? You're not even going to fight for us?" He snorted, the irony thick enough to choke on. Fight for what? A marriage that ended with champagne and a laugh track? He muted her number and tossed the phone aside. His eyes landed on the small box Claire had thrust into his hands. Curiosity nudged him through the haze of whiskey and humiliation. He popped it open, revealing a sleek pair of men's watches, shockproof, high-tech, with a heart rate monitor, step counter, the whole deal. Liam cracked a faint smile. They were cool, no question. Exactly the kind of thing he'd secretly wanted but never splurged on. Leave it to Claire, the lone decent soul in Sofia's family, to come through. The watch felt like more than a gift. It was a lifeline, a little glimmer of faith when everything else had gone dark. He slipped it onto his wrist, the weight of it oddly grounding. Staring at the ticking seconds, something clicked in Liam's head. Not despair, resolve. Cold, sharp, and steady. 4 years with Sofia hadn't just been a slow freeze, it had been an education. He'd overheard Garrett's shady business rants, tax loopholes, creative accounting, deals that stank worse than week-old fish. He'd seen how careless Sofia's family was with their secrets, assuming he was too dim to notice. They thought they'd steamrolled him, but Liam wasn't about to let them waltz away clean. The next morning he woke up with a hangover and a plan. First call, Michael, his old college buddy turned divorce lawyer. Over coffee that tasted like motor oil, Liam spilled the whole story. The birthday bombshell, the champagne, Garrett's cackling. Michael leaned back, grinning like a shark smelling blood. "Oh, we've got this, man. If Sofia's been stepping out, and I'd bet my left shoe she has, we'll turn this around. You'll walk away with more than a handshake." Liam's mind flashed to the last few months. Sofia working late, coming home with a whiff of cologne that wasn't his discount brand, her phone glowing with texts she'd answer with a smirk. He logged into their shared cloud storage. Sofia never bothered with passwords. And bingo, a string of flirty messages with some guy named Blake, her coworker. "Missed you at the bar last night," one read. "Can't wait to see you again," said another. There were also a bunch of document files that smelled bad. She hadn't even bothered to delete them yet. Sloppy Sofia, real sloppy. Next, he hit the group chat with his buddies and shot a few texts to coworkers. He kept it simple. "Sofia pulled a fast one last night. Divorce papers on my birthday. I'm good, just wanted you to hear it from me." No trash talk, no drama, just enough to beat Sofia's inevitable spin to the punch. By noon, his phone was pinging with support. "She did what? You deserve better, bro. Drinks on me this weekend." Then came the practical stuff. Liam marched to the bank, withdrew half the cash from their joint account, leaving Sofia's share untouched because he wasn't about to give her ammo to play victim, and rented a storage unit across town. He spent the afternoon hauling his stuff out of the apartment. Tools, clothes, that lumpy armchair Sofia hated. The watch ticked on his wrist as he worked, a quiet reminder he wasn't done yet. By nightfall, he was back on the couch, whiskey swapped for water, plotting his next move. Sofia's family thought they'd humiliated him out of the picture. But Liam, he was just getting started, and this time he'd be the one with the surprise. While Liam was piecing his life back together, Sofia was off doing whatever Sofia did, lounging at her parents' mansion or flitting to some swanky party with her new upgrade. Every so often, her name popped up on Liam's phone. Her texts swung like a pendulum. "You just ran away, huh? Typical." Then, an hour later, "Where are you? What are you doing?" Liam didn't bite. He let them sit there, unread, a little pile of digital bait he had no intention of touching. That night, he crashed at his buddy Dylan's place, a cramped apartment with a couch that smelled faintly of beer and regret, but it beat the empty echoes of his old place. Dylan slapped a pizza box on the table and cracked open a couple of cans. "Sofia's lost, man. You're free now." Liam nodded, and by morning, he woke up with a clearer head and a sharper edge. He wasn't just going to survive this. He'd make Sofia wish she'd never pulled that birthday stunt. To keep his hands busy and his mind off the mess, Liam dug into an old hobby, stitching leather bags and backpacks. Back in college, he'd made a few for himself, rugged, practical stuff he'd been proud of. Sofia had always scoffed, calling it hippie trash, with that superior little smirk of hers. Now, free of her shade, he hit up a craft store, snagging some quality leather and tools. He started with a simple backpack, clean lines, sturdy straps, something he could sell online. The rhythmic tug of the needle through leather was like therapy, each stitch pulling him further from the anger and loneliness. Except he wasn't really alone. His phone kept buzzing with friends checking in. "You good? Need a hand moving anything?" It wasn't pity. It was backup. Midway through cutting a leather panel, Liam's thoughts drifted to Claire. That watch on his wrist, still ticking, still cool, nudged him to reach out. He shot her a quick text. "Hey, just wanted to say thanks again for the watch. It's awesome, means a lot." Her reply came fast. "Oh, Liam, I'm so glad you like it. I'm still sorry about my family. They were awful. That was humiliating and wrong. How are you holding up? Need anything?" He smiled at the screen, tapping back. "I'm okay, really. Thanks for checking in. Appreciate it." Claire might have been the odd one out in that clan, but she was solid. By afternoon, Liam was hunched over Dylan's kitchen table, the backpack taking shape under his hands. It wasn't just a distraction, it was a statement. Sofia could keep her champagne and her Blake. Liam was building something new, one stitch at a time, and he'd be damned if he'd let her have the last laugh. 2 months slipped by, and Liam had settled into a modest rented apartment with a tiny balcony that became his sanctuary. At night, he'd lean against the railing, sipping a beer and staring up at the stars, feeling a peace he hadn't known in years. The chaos of Sofia's world was fading, replaced by a quiet rhythm he was building himself. His leatherwork was picking up steam. He'd sold his first backpack on Etsy, pocketing a small profit that felt like a fortune. Customers raved about the rugged, nomadic vibe of his designs, the very thing Sofia used to mock. Each sale was a middle finger to her old jabs, and Liam couldn't help but grin. He'd reconnected with friends Sofia had always sneered at for being too basic, guys like Dylan and a few others who didn't care about status or designer labels. Now his evenings were filled with bad puns, cold pizza, and board games that always ended in someone flipping the table in mock rage. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real, and Liam soaked it up like sunlight after a long winter. The divorce was chugging along, or so he thought. Michael, his lawyer, was optimistic, until Sofia, or rather Garrett, threw a curveball. They demanded Liam hand over everything he had, claiming he'd ruined Sofia's life during their 4-year marriage. The sheer gall of it left Liam speechless for a solid minute. Ruined her life? With her champagne parties and Blake on speed dial? He told Michael he'd think about it, but in reality, he was sitting on a gold mine of dirt. Years of overhearing Garrett's shady schemes, enough to make the family sweat. And those files he found on cloud storage were safely dumped onto the USB. He wasn't ready to play that card just yet, though. First, he needed to scope things out. Liam reached out to Claire, suggesting a casual meetup at a cozy cafe downtown. He wanted to gauge her place in the family mess. She'd been nothing but kind, and he didn't want her caught in the crossfire. Over coffee and pastries, they chatted easily, and Liam found himself noticing things he hadn't before. Claire was sharp, warm, and, pretty, with a quick laugh and a way of cutting through bullshit without being cruel. She wasn't tangled up in the family business, she explained, because she craved freedom over their suffocating empire. "Dad's a pompous, self-satisfied cynic," she said, rolling her eyes. "I'd rather help small businesses grow than play his game." When Liam mentioned his Etsy shop, her face lit up. She rattled off smart marketing tips, tweaking photos, targeting ads, that he scribbled down on a napkin. He thanked her, genuinely impressed. Mid-conversation, his phone buzzed. Garrett's name flashed on the screen, and Liam braced himself before answering. The older man's voice dripped with venom. "You'd better sign off on this deal, kid, or I'll make your life hell." Liam kept his cool, letting a hint of steel slip into his tone. "I know about the shady stuff in your business, Garrett. I also have some documents from your business. You know, those reports might be of interest to the public. And with Sofia's cheating, fair terms are mine to set." Garrett sputtered, then snapped back with a haughty, "Oh, please, what's there to take from a broke nobody like you? Live your little life." He hung up, and Liam set the phone down, exhaling. Claire, who'd overheard the whole thing, snickered. "Liam, that was badass. You stood up to him. I like that. You're cool." Her grin was infectious, and Liam felt a warm flush creep up his neck. For a moment he weighed the idea of revenge, unleashing the dirt, watching Garrett squirm. But as he sat there with Claire, her easy kindness grounding him, he realized something. Revenge was a lot of effort for people who didn't deserve his energy. All he really wanted was to be left alone, to build his life, his way, and maybe, just maybe, keep Claire around for more coffee and napkin notes. In the end, the divorce wrapped up smoother than Liam could have hoped. Garrett and Sofia backed off, dropping their ridiculous demands. Maybe they sensed he wasn't bluffing about the dirt he had, or maybe they just got bored. Either way, Liam walked away free, with his half of the savings and a weight off his shoulders. Life rolled on, and his leatherwork started gaining traction. Orders trickled in steadily on Etsy. Not enough to quit his day job, but enough to feel like a real side gig with legs. Every sale was a quiet victory, proof he was carving out something solid. He started seeing Claire more often, their coffee meetups turning into a regular thing. She was a natural at boosting his Etsy shop, tweaking listings, suggesting hashtags, even snapping photos of his latest pieces. 3 months after the divorce, Liam decided to step it up. He planned a little date, a goofy mini-golf night followed by burgers at a dive joint. Claire crushed him at golf, laughing as his ball plunked into every water hazard, and Liam couldn't remember the last time he'd had so much fun losing. Afterward, he invited her over to his place, not for anything fancy, just to show her how he made the leather backpacks. He laid out his tools and scraps of leather on the kitchen table, walking her through the process while she watched, wide-eyed. Claire grabbed her phone, snapping pics and filming quick clips. "This is gold for your shop. People love seeing the behind-the-scenes stuff," she said, already plotting captions. They clicked like that, a seamless team, and somewhere between the leather dust and her easy grin, Liam felt a spark ignite, something bigger than friendship. Later, sprawled on his couch with mugs of coffee, Claire turned to him, her tone soft. "Do you ever regret what happened with you and Sofia?" Liam took a sip, letting the question settle. "It stung, yeah. Hurt like hell at first. But now, I see the world differently. And it let me get to know you better, Claire. You're the total opposite of your sister and that whole family. It's kind of amazing." She smiled, a little shy, then dropped a bombshell. "Speaking of them, things are falling apart over there. Blake dumped Sofia after Dad tried to fast-track him at work, then fired him for screwing up. Sofia's unraveling, tantrums, the works." Liam's jaw dropped. Claire kept going, her voice low. "It's worse than that, but short version? I always knew their pride and ego would tank them eventually. Dad's convinced you leaked the shady business stuff, though. I mean, they're starting to have some kind of problem." Liam chuckled, shaking his head. "I thought about it. Revenge, you know. But I let it go, decided to focus on my own life instead." Claire's eyes softened. "I knew you wouldn't. I told him that, but they didn't listen. Now they're calling me a traitor and icing me out." Liam gave a wry smile. "Well, Claire, you're not alone anymore. I've got your back." The air shifted, warm and electric, and then they were kissing, slow at first, then sure, like it'd been waiting to happen all along. When they pulled back, grinning like idiots, Liam knew one thing for certain: the past was done, and whatever came next, he and Claire would figure it out together. A few more months rolled by, and Liam's little leather empire was booming. Orders poured in faster than he could stitch, and Claire was right there with him, not just handling the marketing, but jumping into the production side too. They'd outgrown his cramped apartment, so Liam rented a house with enough space for a proper workshop. Together they moved in, buzzing with excitement and big plans. The place smelled of fresh leather and possibility. Liam even hired a couple of guys, local kids with quick hands, to help with the workload, and what started as a side hustle was now a legit small business. He and Claire ran it like a well-oiled machine, their days blending work, laughter, and a love that felt effortless. They weren't just a team, they were starting to feel like family. Then, out of nowhere, Sofia crashed back into their lives. One chilly evening, a beat-up Toyota Corolla rattled into their driveway, no sleek Tesla in sight. The doorbell rang, and there she was, looking like a ghost of her old self. hair a tangled mess, clothes wrinkled, eyes dull and sunken. "Can I crash here tonight?" she mumbled, barely meeting their gaze. She clocked Liam and Claire together, and a flicker of envy crossed her face. She opened her mouth, probably to snipe, but whatever pride she had left crumbled fast. Her situation was too dire for petty jabs. Liam's first instinct was to slam the door. After everything, the divorce, the humiliation, he didn't owe her a damn thing. But Claire, ever the soft heart, stepped in. "Let's hear her out," she said quietly, tugging him aside. Reluctantly, he agreed. They ushered Sofia into the living room, handed her a plate of leftovers and a mug of coffee, and waited. She sat there, hunched over, a far cry from the polished queen who'd once toasted his downfall. Between choked sobs, Sofia spilled her story. It was a train wreck. Blake hadn't just been her fling, he'd been playing her, leaking Garrett's business secrets to competitors. When the truth came out, Garrett fired him, and Blake dumped Sofia like a bad habit. She admitted she'd fudged reports for him, thinking it'd keep him close, but when Garrett found out, he cut her loose. No job, no money, no mercy. Her so-called friends bailed when she couldn't pay rent, kicking her out with nothing but her car. The Tesla, sold to scrape by, swapped for the rattling Corolla outside. She had a little cash left, but it was dwindling fast, and she was lost, clueless about what came next. Then the kicker. Garrett's empire had imploded. Blake, bitter from his firing, had gone public with proof of the family's financial schemes. Cooked books, tax dodges, the works. The feds swooped in, froze their assets, and left the whole operation in ruins. Sofia sniffled, wiping her nose on her sleeve. "I've got nowhere else to go." Liam and Claire exchanged a look across the room, jaws practically on the floor. The woman who'd once laughed in his face with a champagne flute in hand was now a wreck on their couch. The family that had sneered at him was crumbling. And here they were, caught between pity, disbelief, and the surreal twist of it all. What the hell were they supposed to do now? The air in the living room grew heavy as Sofia's sobs echoed off the walls. Claire, arms crossed, finally snapped. "I knew it'd end like this," she said, her voice sharp but steady. "I warned you all. Cynicism and treating people like dirt? Karma doesn't mess around." Sofia's tears didn't stop, but she nodded, hiccuping through her next confession. "The divorce, it wasn't even my idea. Mom and Dad, Garrett and Linda, they pushed me into it. Said I was trading up, that humiliating Liam would make him sign fast. I didn't see how wrong it was until it was too late." Liam sat there, stone-faced, the words sinking in like slow poison. Betrayal didn't even cover it. This was a calculated gut punch, orchestrated by people who'd smiled at him over holiday dinners. Sofia looked up, eyes red and desperate. "Please, let me stay here, just for a bit. I'll fix things, I swear. I won't be any trouble." Liam's gut screamed no, but Claire's hand brushed his arm. "1 week," she whispered. "She's got nothing." Against every instinct, he caved. "Fine, 1 week," he muttered. Sofia choked out a, "Thank you," followed by a shaky, "I'm so sorry. For everything. I was an idiot." For the next week and a half, Sofia was a ghost in their house. Quiet, meek, tiptoeing around like she was afraid to breathe too loud. She pitched in where she could. Washing dishes, running errands, small stuff. Liam kept his distance, but Claire saw something redeemable. Using old contacts, she lined up a job for Sofia. Nothing fancy, just a clerical gig to get her back on her feet. Sofia latched onto it like a lifeline, thanking them over and over. Soon enough, she rent a tiny apartment, a shaky first step toward standing on her own. She moved out, still fragile but functional, leaving Liam and Claire with a quiet house and a weird sense of closure. Meanwhile, Liam and Claire were thriving. The leather business was humming, orders stacked up, and they were tossing around ideas for expansion, maybe a bigger workshop, a few more hires. Their days were a blur of leather, laughter, and late-night brainstorming, stitched together by a love that felt unbreakable. They'd found each other in the wreckage of bad choices and worse people, turning a string of lows into something extraordinary. Against all odds, they'd built a business and a bond that shone, raw, real, and honest. One night, sprawled on their balcony under a blanket of stars, Liam turned to Claire. "You know those watches you gave me? Back on that awful birthday?" She nodded, curious. "They were more than a gift. They made me believe there were still good people out there. Hope, you know? You gave me that." Claire's smile lit up the dark. "And you gave me a reason to keep being one," she said, leaning into him. They sat there, the watch ticking softly on his wrist, a reminder of where they'd started and how far they'd come. Together, they had a whole life ahead. Adventures, stumbles, triumphs, all of it. And that was more than enough. If you enjoyed the story, please subscribe to the channel. I wish you a great mood and good luck.